Following on from the last video, MRTV wanted to hear from the CHS Group and delve a bit deeper into the issues of Romsey Town's housing problems, as well as what community spirit was at risk.
CHS is talking to residents at Montreal Square about the possibility of redeveloping the estate, and the reason for doing that is because it's the only land and houses we own in Cambridge City that has the potential to fit a lot more affordable housing on it. So CHS hasn't been able to build any new affordable housing in Cambridge for getting on for 5 years now. Land is just too expensive. There's a desperate need for more affordable housing. Levels of homelessness and the levels of need that people have got in the city are very acute. So as a charity, we think it's our responsibility to look at trying to provide more affordable housing where need is greatest in the city, wherever we can. And that's led us to take the difficult decision to start talking to the residents of Montreal Square about redeveloping their homes in order to provide more affordable housing.
I've always stayed locally since moving out from my parents' house, so it's been, you know, 'cause it's a lovely area, and I'm here most days anyway, visiting my mum. My children come with me as well, so.
Section 8 the handbook. This is written down in black and white. It's CHS is committed, the word committed, to making sure that every tenant enjoys the right and security in their home. Making sure that every tenant's right to the peaceful enjoyment of their home is protected. Creating an environment which makes our estates a more attractive place to live. We have created this environment.
I live on Hotel Road, which is just sort of near Montreal Square, and my little girl has played on the green. We have had picnics with fellow neighbours. Hotel Road's quite a friendly road, and so is like the whole Montreal Road Square area, and we have picnics in the summer and we have them on the square. We find that it's a lovely, beautiful oasis in the city, really, and it'd be very sad to see it changed. It feels like the whole end of Mill Road is changing quite a lot recently.
I've been chair of the Federation of Cambridge Residents Associations, FECRA, for 3 years now, and one of the recurring complaints we hear from residents is that consultation often doesn't take on board the concerns of the very people who will be most affected by the change being considered. And it often seems to them that plans are being made behind closed doors.
These houses, as I said before, have been standing for 100 years. If they were derelict and if they were in really bad condition, I could understand that demolishing them and building something better would be okay. But these are ready to stand for another 100 years, and I think that needs to be addressed with Cambridge Housing Society.
Yeah, you don't get any squares. There's nowhere really, is there, that you can go that's like this anymore. No. You know, and it's fine that I get that, you know, everyone needs a place to stay and you need more buildings, but it's not really about, you know, the quantity, it's like the quality. You know, you can't just go from a house like it's a home to then just a building. You know, it's not the same. It's never going to be the same. But you know, we come here as home from home, and then to come back, yeah, it's different, but it's never the same. You know, these people have lived here for years. Why should they have to change something that they've built up themselves?
I think something's gone profoundly wrong with the planning system. Everybody acknowledges that we need to be building communities. Everybody acknowledges that we need to be providing affordable housing. Behind me, at this moment, Cambridge Planning Committee is about to agree to the Labour Club being turned into student housing. This is not what Romsey needs any more of.
So Montreal Square Gardens are like a park. It's the last piece of green lung. End of Mill Road. I quote green lung. It's a haven for wildlife to which we are very passionate about and want to keep. So let's go through. Demolition is a hugely destabilising, clumsy and laborious process, as existing tenants are in the way. Tenants will be frightened of the insecurity, the community upheaval, the vague promise of moving out somewhere near, then having the option to return without knowing when.
The Royal Standard behind me, more student housing, and the housing down the side of the Royal Standard in what was the Royal Standard garden, again, more student housing, no affordable housing there.
Because no way can you start all over again and do another 40 years of building up a friendship anywhere.
I grew up here, you know, Romsey Town, Montreal Square, Mill Road. I went locally, St Bede's School was my school that I went to. Before that was Romsey, that's now also been demolished.
And yet more student accommodation on this site here. There could have been 40% affordable housing here. It's what residents wanted, it's what the City Council wanted, but the government inspector actually said that the plans for student housing were the right ones and that they should go here. So there's 300 student flats here, no affordable housing.
And we want more people to know what's happening in Montreal Square and the proposed demolition of these houses and the rebuild of a new development here.
But it seems like the plan hasn't taken into account the existing community around it, that we should be endeavouring to make our communities better rather than making these decisions based on numbers. So surely there must be another piece of land that, you know, is currently being built on for students that, you know, possibly don't need it, or other things, that we can provide this decent housing. Or have other strategies, rent control. There's loads of things that other cities in the world that's had this problem has done and dealt with it, and we just seem to be taking the easiest course out and not really thinking it through.
No, they have no idea what they're going to do to the whole community around this square, because when you've lost it, you're never going to get it back. It's gone. There's no way you can build it again. Over 40 odd years, you just can't. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, the traffic that they're going to cause in Natal Road and Montreal Road, it's bad enough as it is. Once you get a car coming down, you've either got to reverse up or they've got to reverse onto Pern Road. That's going. I mean, I can't see where an accident hasn't happened.
Montreal Square, I think this is a lovely, peaceful development in Romsey. As Romsey gets more and more built up, this is a nice, peaceful, tranquil area. You can hear the birds singing, you're away from the traffic, and this is all affordable housing. And the irony is at the moment that the housing society that owns it is proposing or is asking the residents whether they want to knock down these houses and intensify the use of the site by building more flats here. The justification is to build affordable housing, and actually that affordable housing should have gone where those student flats we just looked at are. It should have gone at Romsey Labour Club, and actually putting them on here isn't going to solve Cambridge's housing problem. There needs to be a better policy, there needs to be better ways of doing things.
So we're principally talking to the residents of Montreal Square about our plans, because they're the people who will lose their homes, and they're really concerned about the sense of community they've got there, and how it's going to affect them. So we're principally talking to the residents at the moment, and the aim is to work with residents to try to draw up a bit of an outline for what a redevelopment could look like. That's what we agreed to do at a public meeting with residents we held a few weeks ago.
The Montreal Square residents shouldn't be the ones that take the brunt of political decisions that were made years ago about housing.
We hope that the Cambridge Housing Society Group, that they'll be led by how the majority of the residents have reacted to this proposal of a considerable increase in resident numbers. Many residents are very anxious about the health implications of such disruption.
If we do then make a decision to go ahead with the redevelopment, then obviously we'll have to start work on a planning application, and the scheme will have to go through a wider planning process, and then people will be able to comment more widely on the scheme in terms of that wider planning process.